Welcome, everyone. My name is Jochen Schell, and I'm very happy to welcome you to our Build Your Future E Lab number 5. I am just checking some technical things. Here we go. So, as I said, my name is Jochen Schell, and I see a lot of participants here from a lot of different countries, and I'm very happy to welcome you to this webinar. I will introduce you to YEP Europe. I'm the director of YEP Europe, an NGO, an organization at the center of the YEP Community Network, which is a community, a network of communities and organizations across Europe, working with the YEP approach and methodology of youth and community empowerment. And we have an outreach to more than 100 communities in 14 countries in Europe. And with regards to these webinars, these Build Your Future E-Labs, Build Your Future was a program which was financed by Erasmus Plus in 2015 from 2015 to 2017, and it was basically a program where we developed an entrepreneurship course, a program for young people with few opportunities. And one very important aspect of this program, of this learning program, was the entrepreneurship labs, which were organized in the local communities where these programs, where this program was implemented. And the entrepreneurship labs were basically meeting points of entrepreneurs, local entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurs who would meet the young people going through the program and would share their story and inspire young people, tell about their experiences, their successes and failures. And in a way, these webinars we're organizing are a spin-off of these entrepreneurship labs. And so that is a short introduction on YEP Europe, these E-Labs. And before I introduce you to the speaker of today's webinar, some technical information as well. We will be together for an hour. Johanna Richter, Dr. Johanna Richter, our speaker today, will talk about 40 minutes. We will have about 10 minutes at the end for question and answers. But there is also the possibility to ask questions and make comments in the chat. You should have bottom at the top of your screen, or at the bottom where you see chat and where you can write your comments and questions. We also will run some polls to see how you're liking the webinar. So you just click the answers. It's very easy to do. And I believe that that is it from the technical point of view. I would like now to introduce you to Dr. Johanna Richter. She's the speaker of today's webinar. And Johanna, some introductional information. She studied in Berlin and Paris. She did a master in childhood studies and children's rights, and completed her doctorate at the UNESCO Chair of Human Rights Education. And in 2006, Johanna and her friends founded the NGO ACBE, Perspectives for West Africa. It's an NGO we will hear a lot about today. They are basically, well, they are supporting a lot of entrepreneurial initiatives in Togo, but also in other countries. And Johanna also works as a project manager at the Stiftung Entrepreneurship here in Berlin. And Johanna was also crowned Woman of the Year 2010 here in Germany by a magazine, Bild der Frau, here in Germany. And she even was crowned a queen in the village she works in, Tomegbe, but she can tell you more about this. And I would like to give you the floor, Johanna. if you could switch on your microphone and your camera.
Yes.
Here we go.
Hello, does it work?
Yes, it does.
Okay. I'm very happy to meet you online, although I don't see any of you, but you can see me. I will now try to share with you my screen. Oh my God. I hope it works.
It will, I'm sure. There we go.
It's always frightening. And I will also have the presentation mode. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for the nice introduction, Jochen. I'm very pleased to be here. It's a shame that I cannot be like with you at the moment in the same room, because I think it's always a lot nicer to actually speak face to face. Yeah, as Jochen already said, I'm happy to give you a very short introduction of what I've been doing with my NGO, with my little NGO, and I would be very pleased and happy if you would also join this small presentation by asking questions, by engaging in the discussion, because as much as I like myself talking, I also like to learn from others and from your experiences. And Jochen already told me that you come from so many different countries, so I would be very pleased to learn from you. Yeah, a very short introduction to social entrepreneurship, first of all, because as Jochen said, this short presentation will be about our work in Togo and Burkina Faso and what we do there. But first of all, I would like to know whether you have an idea of what social entrepreneurship is. I mean, we kind of know what entrepreneurship is, and we kind of also know what a social behavior is. But do you have any ideas of what it is to you? You can write your answers in the small chat box if you want. Because before I started actually launching this NGO, I had no idea that the word social entrepreneurship actually existed. And I was a bit naive, I would say, because I just graduated from school. I was 19 years old. And in the beginning, I didn't want to like just study or just take a job, which is fine to many. But I thought I want to like change the world. I want to do something. I want to be engaged. And so I went to Togo for 7 months, which is a small country in West Africa, because I wanted to, I was, as I said, quite naive. And I said, I just want to change everything. Then I discovered, I mean, within the years, I mean, I will tell you more about that, but just short introduction. Only later, I actually realized that what I'm doing with my NGO was social entrepreneurship. I didn't have a name for it. I was just doing it with our partners, with our local partners. But only in the end, like now-ish, we realized, okay, what we do is social entrepreneurship. So maybe you have some, I don't know how to use this chat box. Jochen?
Yes, I can help you. No problem. Here's some answers from Sophie. The first one: projects that raise capital or money or build capacity for social good. It's the first one. And then we have here Tatiana. Social entrepreneurship is making social change using the entrepreneurial mindset and techniques.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what you just said, because of course, you both have the social mindset in your answers. What I think is, I mean, I give you what I think social entrepreneurship is not only like you probably know the saying: if you see a man who's starving, don't give him a fish to eat, but teach him how to fish. And I think this is more a charity approach, because we, as mainly white elder people, teach, I mean, I'm being sarcastic right now, okay? Teach younger Black people how to do things and how to feed themselves. And I think that is a little bit more a charity approach, which has probably some good sides, but it's not what I understand social entrepreneurship. I think social entrepreneurs, they really try to change, for example, the fishing industry. They try to change an existing problem and make it better, so that they do not teach others how they can do something better, because that would be an approach from the outside, and but rather to actually try to change an existing problem in the long run, and not reconstructing problems that have already existed before. So when I started my NGO, I wanted to actually I wanted to change the world, basically. So I went to Togo. I was teaching in 2.5 schools, German and even English. I mean, you hear my German accent, and I was teaching English, a weird thing. And so I stayed there for 7 months, and I met a teacher over there, and a Togo guy from Togo, and he said, yeah, can you not build a kindergarten in our village? And I said, I'm sorry, but how should I build a kindergarten? I just graduated from school. I don't know how to do that. I'm sorry, I can't do that. And then I talked to others from from other white young students who also went to Togo, and I said, hey, let's do something. Let's try to do it. And I think if I would have known how difficult it is to build a kindergarten and how much work you need to put in it, discussing, getting funds and finding property and all these things, I would maybe not have started it. But I was quite open-minded, and I said, okay, I mean, why not? And if nothing stops me, then why not just doing it? So I thought, okay, if everybody says I cannot change the world, then no one will. So let's just do it. So what we did then is we founded an NGO. The NGO is called Akbe, and Akbe means in the local language of Ewe, life. And so we created this in Germany, in Berlin. Actually, the first address, I think it's still the local address of my NGO, is the address from my parents' flat, because we didn't want to hire personnel, we didn't want to have an office, we just wanted to work, and we wanted to work with the locals together. So we said, okay, I mean, we can go as far as we can, and then let's see where we get. So for me, actually, I don't know how old you are, but Jochen told me a little bit about you're young entrepreneurs. And when I was your age, when I was 19, 20 years old, I thought, okay, I can change the world. I'll definitely do it. And if there's a problem, I'll manage it. And that actually helped me getting through many, many challenges. I mean, and maybe this is more a question to yourself that you can also answer after the small workshop. Think about also what have you already achieved as change. And I don't mean we all have to change climate change tomorrow, but I also mean the little changes, how did you and how can you change one person's life? Because if you manage to change a life for one person, then that's already amazing. And that was also the case when we did our first project, when we actually finalized the kindergarten. It took us, I think, 5 years in total. And now the kindergarten exists. There are 120 kids, sometimes less. We never know. And the nurseries, the teachers are all trained from the village. The construction was made mainly by those from the village. Only a few experts came from other villages. And also the entire local structure and the idea came from the village. So for us, it is very, very important that every idea always comes from the local partners, and also the implementation actually comes from the local partners. And yeah, whenever my NGO just raises, we raise money, and we give I think could even say 100%, but once in a while we send a letter to our founders where we have to pay for the stamps. So I said 98% of the money goes to the projects. And so that was, that's actually how we started. And we started a little bit learning by doing, I would say. And so we had in the beginning, we had a very close connection to the local partners. And I knew where all the mothers, where the children, where the fathers were living. And so this is actually how we started. We started with one project, It took a lot longer than we thought. But now talking about what can you change? Now I see, wow, I mean, these kids, they didn't have a kindergarten, a nursery school before. Now they have one, and I'm sure like when they become older, maybe they will also do something good for the next generation. And also now you could say like, why building a kindergarten? You know, this village where we started had no electricity, it had no running water, it still has no running water, by the way. It is far away from everything. From like I think the next town is 3 to 4 hours by car. So it's like in the middle of the nice bushes from Africa. And yes, so people would say like, why building a kindergarten? Why not a hospital? Why not anything else? And we thought, well, we asked the locals, okay, why do you want a kindergarten? Why not something else? And they said, look, I mean, mothers, like women, they are like the key to our society. So basically, we need to support them. We need to be there for them, because the problem is when young kids, I mean, mothers have to take care of all the kids, and they have to do the house. They have to get the wood. They have to like actually basically do kind of everything. And if the kids are in the kindergarten, they can also do their own work. And this is also how our kindergartens in Germany or in Europe started, to actually relieve mothers and to make them also be able to work again. And on top of that, older siblings always had to take care of younger siblings. So many older siblings couldn't go to school because they were just busy with helping their parents, helping their mothers to take care of the younger kids. So they said, actually, instead of making a new water pipe, we need to build something for the next generation. And then I thought, okay, who am I as a German blonde lady from Berlin? Who am I to decide what they need and what they don't need? And so this is actually how we started. Like, it was really like an ongoing process. And later we also started other projects, and I will briefly talk about the projects, because you could easily say, well, this kindergarten is not social entrepreneurship, and you're right. It all started with like some kind of charity, because how I understand social entrepreneurship is that, as I said in the beginning, that you try to change a problem and make it into something better, and make it so that actually you don't need actually my NGO anymore. In the end, we are like, you know, we can go home and we can leave them on their own, and they actually also start to make money with it, or they have their own small businesses. For example, our Ox microcredit project, I don't know if the translation is correct here, but what it means is we launched a project a year ago where families would get an ox, like this beautiful one here on the picture. And one ox costs 155 euros, and he's already vaccinated with that money. And so the family gets an ox, and the family can keep it for 2 years. After 2 years, the ox will, they can use it for, like, I don't know, for the field work, for carrying stuff, for getting water, for everything. It's like it's a very, very important animal for rural families. This project actually is from Burkina Faso. And so what they do after 2 years, they slaughter the ox, and with the money they get from the meat, they can actually afford 2 more oxes. One ox stays with them for as long as it lives. The other one will be given to another family. So basically, it's like a microcredit project with oxes. And we started this, as I said, last year. So actually the second year no ox has been slaughtered so far, but the families actually managed to get many more field work done. So it's working for now pretty well. Then we have, in general, microcredits. It's astonishing because for now we only have microcredits with women. This was not the plan, because I'm for equal rights, so for women and men. But for now, we only women participated in this project. For example, these 2 here in Burkina Faso. And we because microcredit is maybe you've heard about that from Mohamed Yunus. Microcredit has gotten quite a boom in the last years. Even Mohamed Yunus got a Nobel Peace Prize for it, and I'm a strong believer that microcredits can really change the world to the better in many ways, but they can also be a challenge or a risk. But first of all, I will tell you how we do this microcredit project. We basically try to support the poorest of the poorest, like those that live in very rural areas, those that have no access to healthcare, those that are like really, really, really poor and economically poor, not culturally or socially. And so we gave them last February a credit of, I think in euro it was 70 euros or 72 euros. And after a year, they were supposed to pay all of it back. So they don't have to pay it back every month, because then it would actually be much more expensive for them. This is also a challenge, I would say, for microcredits in general. But for us, they pay the money, they get the money last year in February, and now this year in February they gave the money back, and actually 100% of the women gave the money back. So it was I was astonished myself, I have to say, that it worked so well. So these women now we are thinking of giving them another credit, or giving them maybe even a credit for 80 or 90 euros. But we are really based on little amounts, because a small amount can be looked upon. And for us, it's also important that it's always, you don't need, I mean, of course you need a business plan, but a business plan is just an assumption of what you think that might happen. You don't know. It's much more important that you, that actually the partner is involved, and that actually the partner knows, okay, my wife now got a microcredit, so we both know that we are in debt, so we need to actually work towards the same goal. So I think this is much more important than only a very nice spreadsheet or a very nice business plan. So this is our microcredit project, which is, yeah, I would say pure social entrepreneurship. And we are also launching a moringa tree project. Moringa is a beautiful tree that originated also in Africa, and actually gives lots of, like, has all vitamin, all fibers, everything that you actually need for a healthy living. And we are, the women are planting these trees after the next rainy season this year. We already bought the small baby trees. I don't know how you call that in English, like small baby trees. and they will be planted, and they will also be a big project for our local NGO that is taking care of it, and will give women another job in a way. So we also, what we did in the past, we constructed a training center for teachers a few years ago, and that is that's merely, like, I wouldn't call it social entrepreneurship. I would call it only, like, we had our local partner in Burkina Faso. They said this is what we need, and we said, okay, I mean, we cannot make a social project out of it, because they just need this construction. So we raised money and we built this, but also for us it was very important that they have a plan of how to actually maintain the training center later. So now the government of Burkina Faso agreed to actually pay for the teachers and pay for the trainers of the becoming teachers in a way. So we don't have to do anything with that. We also constructed a well, actually 2 wells, one in Ouagadougou in Burkina, and one in there's a pole. I don't know what to do. I hope
nothing.
I'm not okay.
This is for the participants. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Should I put this somewhere? Do you see the pole also on my?
Yes. Don't worry about it. Just continue. Everybody sees what they're supposed to see.
Okay,
don't
I'm
worry.
sorry. So, yeah, we constructed a second well, And that was actually astonishing because it was finalized 2 years ago, and by coincidence, I actually arrived the day after it was finalized. So I had a look at the well because I wanted to see. And you cannot imagine, there were like 300 people waiting in line for getting water. I mean, I don't know, that was just something I will never forget, because you could really see the need in the well. And so, but now I cannot, yeah, okay. So what I learned when I was young, or I'm still learning it, and I still consider myself young, but what I learned was that I have to leave a lot behind when I go to a foreign culture. And the foreign culture could also be a small village in Germany. It doesn't mean like in West Africa, you know? So that I have to leave lots of prejudice, lots of fright, like lots of things that I, like stereotypes, you know, that I have to leave that behind. And what on the other hand, I also taught myself, okay, but what can I take with me? And I always thought, okay, I take like my curiosity with me, and I take my willingness to see things in a different light. So that was something that was actually or is still waking me up at night in a way, because maybe you've also had the same experience, I don't know, when you try to change something and then you realize, oh my god, I didn't think about that. So and the funny thing is, on the return, because I tried to go to West Africa once a year, during the Ebola crisis, obviously I didn't go, but I go there quite regularly. And every time when I come home, I think, oh my God, now I understood everything. So it's, for me, a big learning process. And for me, this is very much enriching, actually. And I can tell you, I mean, you're young, you have probably many dreams. I can tell you, my parents were not so pleased when I told them after school, you know what, I'm going to West Africa and I'm going to change the world. And my father said, why don't you want to go and study in Paris? Or why don't you want to do an internship in New York? Or, I mean, my parents, like, why going to Ouagadougou? Why going to Balime, like to Togo or Burkina Faso, you know? And I told them, I mean, I just want to do that. And then when I told them, well, I have this great idea and I want to create this NGO and we want to build a kindergarten. And my parents thought, oh my God, now she's completely nuts. And now, I mean, I love my parents, you know, but now my father, when I see it, when he talks to friends, he always tells them, I always knew that this would work and I always supported her. I mean, I'm not saying my parents never supported me, but I'm telling you, it was a tough time. It led to many discussions with them. But it also made me becoming, in a way, stronger. And I don't know, let's put it this way. I mean, I have a PhD, and yes, I'm quite well educated, etc. But what I've really learned was from my experiences there. I mean, I learned how to have a debate and a discussion on a new construction, and I learned how to debate on prices, and I learned actually to rethink everything, and I learned so much more than I could have ever learned doing university or doing my school studies. So if you want to start a project, I mean, it doesn't matter wherever it is. It could also be in your backyard, or it could be something with your family. It could be something with your friend. But you will learn so much, and it will make you more self-assured of you, because now I can think, you know, I mean, yes, things also don't work well. I mean, I will come to that later, but in the end, you know, you know that, I mean, for me, you know, after all these studies at university and at school, I just wanted to build something that I can touch, you know. And so when I was at the kindergarten, our first project, and I was able to touch the wall, I was crying, because I thought, wow, I mean, this didn't exist before. And so that was actually something that was important. So like a small thing, how do you start, or how did I start? I completely started with my heart. I didn't start with an Excel sheet or with, I'm not saying that Excel sheets are bad, but this was not how I started. I started with my heart, and I started like with deep friendship from locals. For example, you see a tree project that I financed a few years ago together with Tasredera. He's the boss of the local NGO in Burkina Faso, and he's a very good friend of mine now. And I also learned that you have to you have to trust people, because I'm not there every day, and I can tell them, look, send me a picture from the kindergarten during the construction, and then I will tell them, okay, send me the picture always from the same angle that I can see the palm tree in the background, because otherwise they can send me many pictures from many other kindergartens and I don't know whether it's true or not. So I learned actually, yes, to do like double checks, but in the end I have to trust people, and if I don't trust people, I should not do the project, because then it's not worth. If you I mean, of course you have to doubt it, and you have to you have to question, but trust for me is one big thing. And the other thing is being humble. I learned to become humble of what I thought was right, and what I thought like was absolutely necessary to do. I learned that actually sometimes things that existed before had a sense and had a meaning, and that it is not that it sounds maybe difficult or to understand, but yeah, I think that I learned to be humble, and I learned also to be patient. I'm so patient now. Because when I had these discussions, for example, we had a discussion, it was I think the first project about we had to construct the chairs for the kids, for 120 kids for the kindergarten. And as I said, there was no electricity, so they had to sew the chairs by hand. And that takes a lot of time and lots of energy, a lot of manpower. And they said, yeah, I had talked to the carpenters, to a group of guys, and they wanted to have a certain amount of money. I don't remember how much it was. It was probably not much. But I said, look, we cannot afford that. We don't have that much money. And I only have a small NGO. I'm not like UNICEF or whatever, no offense. But I cannot just say, okay, it's 50 euros more, 100 euros more. We can just, pay it. It's not like comparing to Germany, it's nothing. But I always told them that, look, we're a small NGO, we have to watch our money. And I'm responsible also for it, because I have donors that give us money. Even if it's not much, it is money. And so we had like a discussion that lasted for 5 hours. And in the end, we couldn't find a conclusion. It was quite heated actually. And then the chief of the village had to interfere. And the next day they came back, and then the chief of the village had to interfere again. Long story short, we found an agreement, but now people could think like, who is this girl? I mean, she's negotiating for a few euros. I mean, they have not much money. I mean, that's quite arrogant. But I learned that they kind of respected me more, because they said that, hey, you really take your time in discussing this, and they love discussing, and they said, you take your time in discussing it, and it makes us also think that you also have a value in that, because if you can just say, for you it's so much money, for me it's nothing, it also has some certain arrogance. And so they also knew in the beginning, I think, that we are not so easy to play with, and we are there to stay also in the village. I mean, I have worked in this village for 10 years. I know the kids, I know the parents, and I know the cousins, and I know all the chit chat from the villages, So that's something that I definitely learn. And I also learned that you have to be ready to actually change a plan when necessary. So when you go in a field, and when you have this great idea, how things will be, then you're so frustrated. I mean, I was so frustrated when I realized, okay, this is actually like bullshit. I should not have like made, like, I shouldn't have wasted so many hours on thinking about the plan, because actually the reality teaches me. So which is not bad, you know, I don't mean it in a bad way, but in the way it made me be more relaxed in general, because I knew, okay, this is my idea, but we will see what it turns out. And of course, yes, cooperation is not always that easy. On the one hand, on the ground, you can see me on the left being quite annoyed because we had a meeting, and yes, the car broke down again. I mean, I think I have lived, I mean, I could maybe even become a mechanic by now, because yeah, with all the car breakdowns. So on the way, cooperation, of course, is not easy, because you have two different viewpoints on a situation, and it always takes more time, and it always is different than you thought it would be. But it is so much fun, you know. It's just so much fun, and I am. Oh, it's already the last slide, and I realized also when you see Tasso Dera again in the middle, who he also looks not pleased about the situation. Now we are in contact with WhatsApp, and I just regularly get updates from him, and he sent me pictures. He gives me information on the ongoing projects, and that actually also makes me wanting to do more. So yeah, this is the short presentation I prepared for you. And I would like to know now, because you come from so many different areas around Europe, and I would like to know whether you also see things that you can change and you can do. I mean, I wasn't a trained expert in NGOs or whatever. I mean, I learned by doing it. But how about you? I mean, do you have any plans? Do you want to do something? Do you want to build something new? Do you want to? Do you see a problem somewhere and you want to change it? So yeah, what about you? Is there anything that you can share with me? It's sad that we cannot talk. I'm the only one talking. But maybe you have, maybe you already, or maybe you have your own experiences, or maybe you launched your own projects already, and you want to share some ideas about that. You're all too busy. I see. I had the many ideas and too little time. We are all too busy. Yeah. Is that to me, or is that to the other people?
That is me talking. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, many ideas, but too little time to realize them.
I mean, that's true. Because also when I started, I mean, I had, of course, it was not only one kindergarten, but of course I wanted to change the entire world. But for me, it helped to stick to a small project and then to learn. And that can be something very small. I mean, it doesn't have to be a kindergarten. It can also be something smaller. Because what I can maybe also give you as an advice is that I mean, you can just start. I mean, there are so many people that will call you naive, and there will be so many people that will tell you that it will never work. But it's worth trying it. And as Jochen already said in the beginning, I mean, they crowned me queen, which was a great honor, and which I didn't think before that this would ever happen, because I'm not African at all, and I was not born there, and yeah, I was just collaborating with them, and they didn't inform me beforehand. They just one morning knocked at my door at 5 o'clock, and the entire village was there, and they made this huge ceremony, and I got a crown, and I got like jewelry which were like nice stones. And why I'm saying this is that I realized that they respected me in a way, because I'm very critical to modern, I would call it neo-colonialistic charity NGO work. I'm being very sarcastic right now, but like people that know what other people need, and people that just throw money over projects, and then actually all the money goes to external expats, which are all white, and which then buy themselves beautiful flats in Paris and London. So the NGO world actually, I think, needs a dramatic change, and I think social entrepreneurship can be a big piece in that change. And so when I was crowned queen there, I thought, okay, wow, this is like a big honor. And I was like, first of all, I thought they want to marry me to some guy, and I'm like trapped in a way. But then they said, no, we crown you queen. And then, I mean, I have all the official documents now, and very wonderful, wonderful experience. But on the one hand, I understood that they are also doing this because they know that I will not be able to get out of that so easily. You know, I'm kind of stick to the village now. I mean, because I don't belong to them. I don't feel like a white messiah or something, but I feel some responsibility towards the villagers. But on the other hand, for me, it was also great because I could say, okay, now let's talk business about the construction and about the costs of the cement or of the sand or whatever, because now I'm kind of in your team now. So you cannot just give me a prize for white people. You have to give me a prize for the locals because I'm your queen. So that actually was I would call it a win-win situation for both. And when I started this NGO together with, it wasn't only me, okay? It was a couple of friends. When we started this, we never, I never thought where this would lead me. And it's such an incredible journey in a way. There were questions. I wanted to address the issue of too many plastic bags. Yes. Oh, yes. That is a big issue. And actually, this plastic bag issue is wherever I go to West Africa, it is a big issue. And also that they burn the plastics. But of course, it's bad. No question. But on the other hand, I mean, people would easily say, yeah, they're so stupid, they're burning plastics and they're using too much plastics. But if you would think of it from a cultural or like historic ideas, like usually local small villages never had plastic, and they could burn everything they have because they were just living from the woods. They were living from what was there. So plastic is a complete, like an entire new concept. And so of course they're using it the way they're using other resources from the nature. So I think when we want to change the plastic problem, we also need to understand what the culture comes from. I mean, I'll give you an example. You know, solar cookers. Maybe you've heard of that. I think it's a great idea. You know, you don't need firewood because, and of course, firewood should, like, the trees should stay alive, and you shouldn't cut the trees for firewood. So people like implemented these solar cookers. I don't know if you know them. You can Google easily. But the people, I mean, in my areas, they never used it. And the reason is quite simple. Not because it's a stupid idea, not because they are stupid people. It's just that it doesn't belong to their culture, because you can cook within 50 seconds, you know, and then your meal is done. But actually from the local villages that I've seen, it's so important to sit and cook and chat. It's like a group experience. It's like an experience between women or between women and their kids. So the solar cooker does not fit very well, actually, until now. Maybe it will change. It doesn't fit into the cultural habitus of the locals. So I think when you want to change something, it's we shouldn't think about the only technology, or like we implement that's working better. We should always think, we should have the culture in mind. And there were other questions. Why did you need to set up an NGO to implement social? Yeah, I mean, is it necessary, and what needs to be considered while deciding? Well, actually, I decided to create an NGO only because I thought we need a big lobby to get money and to inform people on our cause. And in Germany, it's not that difficult to create an NGO. I think you need 7 people, you need a bank account, you need an address, and 3 to 4 other things. It's really like it can be done in one evening with a bottle of wine. It's and I'm not joking. It's really not that difficult. Of course, in the end, in order that you get like a donor certificate, because that was also a reason why we wanted to have an NGO, because now when people give us money, we can give them a tax information so that they can reduce their taxes. That was also a reason. And I don't know if it's necessary for all projects, because Germany is the country of NGOs. I've heard a few days ago. Many people have NGOs, many people take part in NGOs, but you don't need to have an NGO. You can just have a social project, and you don't need to have all this administrative like baggage. But I can tell you, in Germany, it's not a big deal to create an NGO. It's really, at least when I founded it a few years ago. How we found right local partners? Actually, I think they kind of found us, and we found them at the same time. The first partner we found was when I was working at the school in Togo, in Palimi, a small village, and the one local, the partner from our local NGO actually was also a teacher, so I got to know him there by coincidence probably, and then we built a friendship, etc. And in Burkina Faso it was similar. I mean, I got to know them there, and also then friendship was building up. And and now, of course, through them I get to know other people. It's always now it's like we have some sort of a network, I would say. Why did you need how do you teach people the aspect of sustainability of a project? Oh yeah, that's a big question. Meaning how to make a project sustainable. Yeah, that's a very good question. I think we could talk for an hour about that, because yes. Okay, I'll try to answer it shortly. It's true, this especially the cultures that I have met, like in Togo and Burkina Faso, also a little bit in Ghana and Benin, is that people are used to open their hand and ask for money. And I'm not being I don't want to be criticizing them, because this is what we taught them to do. We said, okay, I give you money, you need to do this. I mean, and if you have a look at all the failing projects in the international NGO world, it's shocking. I mean, I think 3 out of 5 projects actually don't work. I highly advise you to read the book Dead Aid, because it's shocking. I mean, so for us, we actually stick to people that already have a certain idea of sustainability. For example, both project partners that we are working with in Togo and Burkina Faso, they already have, I would say that they are unique characters, and it's not easy to find, even like anywhere on those planet, it's not easy to find incredible, outstanding people. And these 2 project partners that have their own NGO, they always try to make their own, I mean, it's always about their own village. They want to make their own village better. They want to do something for their own village, for their own quartier, for their own town, you know. So they are incredible people that already say, okay, it needs to be durable, it needs to be sustainable, because in the end we'll be here and we'll be fucked if nothing works. Sorry for my language. So so in the way, it's not easy, and you will always, I mean, I always met people on the way that said, yeah, just give us money and it will work. And I wouldn't say that this is stupid. I would say that they're actually quite smart, because this is what they're taught to do in the last 50 years or so, like just open the hand and get money. So, but I always stick to my personal goals, because it's also a way of taking other people serious. And I'm not the rich lady from Germany that just throws money over projects, because I want to I want to have an equal basis. And actually, I want to learn from them. So I want to like understand problems. And there was another question on top, but I cannot go there.
It was the same.
I was the same. Okay.
It was the same. Don't worry.
Yeah, I see technology. No, so this is, it is, the last question is really, it's a great question, but it's a question that goes to the core of the many of the NGO world that there is. And I mean, if it would be me, I think I would stop giving money to big charities. Of course, if there's a crisis, if there's a volcano, no question. If there's a hunger, no question. But to make people just receive money is not an entrepreneurial spirit. And if you want to work with entrepreneurs, you have to try to find creative ideas to solve problems. And I think creative ideas will not arise when you just say, please give me money. Okay, you're not checking the project again. Perfect, then please give me more money. I mean, I'm being a bit, over the top now, but every time when I am in West Africa, of course, I always sleep at project partners' houses or I sleep at friends' places. So I don't use any money for any hotel. I mean, I have like, best shower on this planet is like outside shower with over the nice sky, African sky, with that you put the water thing on your head, perfect. And I don't need this, because if I would need it, then I could also stay in Europe. It's I mean, then you have to ask the question again, why are you here? And every time when I am in any of those countries, the big cars, the big like money always goes to the big hotels, like 5-star, 4-star hotels, and that's where you can see many of the international development expats, which is, of course, everyone is different and they're all not the same, but in general, I could see that most people would just I don't know, live a life like a king there. And that's, to me, shocking in a way. Yeah. How does ACTA understand the real needs of locals? Yeah, how do we understand them? Actually, I don't understand them at all. The question was, how does ACTA understand the real needs of locals and address them? I mean, of course, I understand them, but not because I know them, only because we talk to the locals. I mean, for the kindergarten, we made a small survey and we asked them, why do they need the kindergarten? And for example, the microcredit project or the Ox credit project, we also asked the locals and said, okay, what is more important? What do you need? What can we do together? Is there any great idea? And then actually, I mean, so it was never us who had the idea. It's always them. And it's mainly also them that have the idea of how to implement them and how to actually make them sustainable. So we just have the goal that we want to help as many people as possible. So we are not there for only a certain range of people, but we want to like try to like support all farmers, or we want to try to support all mothers, or like a greater range of people. That's our goal. But the implementation and the ideas, they come from those that actually have to live with these problems every day and that have to live with the implementation of it. So that's I think how we address them. And we don't have like an application sheet or anything. We kind of discuss with them on the phone or when I'm there. There. And also another thing that I found quite interesting is that some sort of problems can also arise even when it has nothing to do with your own project or the project partner, is because there, in West Africa, you have terrorist groups that once in a while make attacks and kill people. And the thing is, when we arrived me and my project partner, when we arrived in Ouagadougou, we wanted to see the training center. I've shown you a picture of that earlier today. And we arrived at the airport, and our project partner Tasra, he said, "Oh yes, I'm sorry, we have a problem. I don't know whether we can drive to the training center." And I thought, damn it, they have like eaten all the money. The training center doesn't exist, and now he's trying to sell it to me and tells me he will try to tell me that actually there's no training center. And I was like so disappointed. I thought, okay, damn it, why is it not possible to visit it? And then he said, yeah, let's have a beer tonight. And then we were in a bar, and he told me, well, there was an attack yesterday actually, and we built the training center in a very poor area, like in the poorest area of Ouagadougou, like really a very, very, very poor area. And like all the terrorists, they try to get more like warriors, more people that would join them to go back to Mali. They tried to get them in that area. So there was actually, and the police found out, so there was a mass shooting right next to our training center. And the people were actually killed. Those that were responsible for like the terrorists. And so Tasra said, like, you as white people, if you go there, it will be too dangerous actually for you, because you will stick out, especially me. And then we said, okay, so because usually we wanted to have an inauguration ceremony and a nice party, but that was all like canceled. But what we did then is we went there by car, we spent there 20 minutes, we took pictures and we left. So the training center existed and everything was all right. But that was also, that's also like what I mean, like also difficult challenges that arise, whether none of the two partners is actually at fault. It just happens like that. Also, we had one problem when we were building the kindergarten and the rainy season started too early and the toilets weren't finished and we had no roofs. And then we said, damn it, like, what do we do? You know, like sometimes challenges appear where you don't expect them. But on the other hand, of course, there are also great things that appear, which are actually like, yeah, fortunate. Okay, I see the time is up. I'm sorry, I've been talking and talking, and now we have no more time for questions. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, there were a lot of questions. I mean, we've been spending the last 20 minutes with questions. So unfortunately the time is indeed up, but it is really it has been really a pleasure, and thank you so much for sharing all your experiences and recommendations. I'm sure you've seen the polls. Maybe people have been very satisfied and happy with the presentation. And of course, they can also follow you. You are very easy to find. Googling your name, you're right there. So it's very easy to find out more about Johanna and her initiative. At this point, I would like to thank also the participants for being here with us today. It has been very, very inspiring again. We are very looking forward for the next one next month. We will announce it and who the speaker will be as well. But for now, thank you so much, Johanna.
I would like just to add one thing. I think it's so great that you ask so many interesting questions, because this is where everything starts. Like, be curious and ask questions, and don't feel stupid of asking a question, or don't feel like I don't want to ask this because maybe someone else asked it before. I really enjoyed these very, very high quality questions. That was a big pleasure for me.
Great. Well, thank you again so much, and hope to see you maybe as a participant in our next or one of our next webinars, E-Labs. So goodbye to everyone, and see you soon.
Thank
ciao,
you.
ciao. Bye. Bye.